Hello, everyone, and welcome to Firstpost America. I'm Eric Ham, and we're coming to you live from the nation's capital in Washington, D.C. And coming up on the program, Los Angeles erupts. Meanwhile, the Trump-Musk feud reaches a slow burn. We've got the latest from California and Washington, as well as other stories from around the world. But we start with the latest headlines. Russia fires a record 479 drones at Ukraine in an aerial barrage. The latest attack on Ukrainian cities comes as Moscow rejects calls for a ceasefire. U.S. and Chinese officials meet in London today to try and keep a fragile trade truce alive, just weeks after their last round of talks in Geneva. Both sides are pushing to prevent a full-scale trade war. Taiwan's exports to the U.S. surged to an all-time high in May as American firms raced to stock up on tech products before steep Trump-era tariffs possibly kick in next month. Israel's ultra-Orthodox Shah's party threatens to topple Netanyahu's government by supporting early elections as tensions erupt over a bill to end military draft exemptions for ultra-Orthodox Jews. And former Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro to appear before the Supreme Court, facing accusations of leading an attempted coup to retain power and block the transition of the presidency to Lula da Silva after the 2022 election loss. We begin with the latest from the unrest in America's second largest city, Los Angeles, where chaos has erupted over recent raids by U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement agents. At least 2,000 U.S. National Guard troops were mobilized by President Donald Trump to quell tensions, a move that drew sharp criticism from Democratic governors who called it an alarming abuse of power. When asked about the deployment, the president, unfazed, hinted that more troops could be sent to other parts of the country as well.
You don't plan to invoke the Insurrection Act? Do you plan to send troops to Los Angeles?
Well, we're going to have troops everywhere. We're not going to let this happen to our country. We're not going to let our country be torn apart like it was under Biden.
Mr. President, do you foresee those protests spreading to other cities, Chicago, New York, for example, in the next few days?
Yes, we're going to be watching it very closely. And when they spit at people, you know, they spit. That's their new thing. They spit, and worse, you know what they throw at them, right? And when that happens, I have a little statement. They say, they spit, we hit. And I told them, nobody's going to spit on our police officers. Nobody's going to spit on our military.
The decision to activate the National Guard against the wishes of the state governor marks the first time a president has done so since 1965. The National Guard is a reserve military force called in during natural disasters or civil unrest, but it usually requires coordination between state and federal authorities. However, Sunday marked the third straight day of demonstrations in Los Angeles, where thousands blocked a major freeway and set vehicles ablaze. In one shocking moment, a journalist was injured after being hit by a rubber bullet.
You just shut the fuck up!
Police used flashbangs, smoke grenades, and rubber bullets on crowds that had taken to the streets to protest the president's aggressive immigration crackdown.
I was
on top of an electrical box on the corner across from the agents, and the crowd was moving in, so they employed the crowd control tactics like the tear gas, and it was too close to me, so I decided to get down and kick it away, and as soon as I kicked my second can, I got hit. Coming over here, there was rubber bullets shooting over my head while I was next to the journalists even. Like, I was talking with a Australian reporter, and it went right by my head. I had to duck, and it almost hit the journalist.
California Governor Gavin Newsom slammed Trump's decision online, calling it unlawful, and even threatened to sue the Trump administration over the deployment. And of war words on social media, Newsom and U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth traded insults. Newsom called it a political spectacle, while Hegseth warned that U.S. Marines could be sent next if violence continued. Meanwhile, the FBI is offering a reward of up to $50,000 for information about a man who allegedly threw rocks at police vehicles during the unrest. The Los Angeles Police Department declared several rallies unlawful as protesters threw projectiles, bottles, and objects at officers. Mayor Karen Bass blamed the federal government for provoking chaos through aggressive immigration raids and military-style enforcement. The anti-ICE protest flared on June 6 and escalated over the weekend, leading to dozens of arrests, mostly from what authorities say are undocumented immigrants and suspected gang members. Scenes from Los Angeles over the last 3 days show a city on edge, and the tensions appear to be only escalating. And next we go from the feud in Los Angeles to the feud in Washington, D.C., where Elon Musk's team reportedly installed a Starlink terminal on the White House roof and used it to transfer large amounts of data, all without anyone noticing. A new report by the Washington Post claims that in March this year, staff from the so-called Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, set up a Starlink connection on top of the White House with full backing from President Trump. DOGE was created to streamline government operations and cut costs, but now it's under scrutiny for possibly using space-based internet to get around tight security protocols on the White House premises. Officials claim the goal was to fix dead zones in the White House's internet coverage. However, the report says that was just the surface story. One tech expert told the Post, and I quote, "Starlink allows you to move data without being traced. It doesn't go through standard government networks. You can run anything through it," end quote. The Secret Service, however, is downplaying the situation, saying they knew about DOGE's plans and do not see this as a security violation. But this isn't the first time DOGE has been accused of shady data operations. Reports say the unit under Musk was digging into government databases that included Social Security information and doing so without proper tracking. In April, an employee at the National Labor Relations Board blew the whistle, saying there was a major cybersecurity breach right after DOGE took control of the board's networks. The whistleblower Daniel Barulis claimed he spotted unusual data movement and login attempts from Russian locations, all while DOGE employees allegedly asked not to be tracked. Now, the timing is suspicious, coming just after Musk's relationship with Trump took a nosedive. Once allies, the two men have clashed publicly, with their once warm friendship turning into a bitter feud. The report added people who walked around the White House as recently as this week could still find a Wi-Fi network named Starlink Guest listed on their phones. A silent reminder that the satellite connection remains very much online. So was it a tech upgrade or a stealthy way to dodge the world's most secure firewall? No one knows for sure, but as the feud between Trump and Musk plays out, episodes such as this one gain more and more traction. It seems the political universe has a wicked sense of humor. President Trump was caught on camera tripping on the stairs of Air Force One. Now, under normal circumstances, this might have been just another awkward moment in the age of 24/7 cameras. But when it's the same man who made a whole campaign out of mocking former President Joe Biden's every wobble, slip, and verbal gaffe, well, you can guess how the internet reacted. Memes, laughter, and a whole lot of Joe Biden vibes filled the timelines. Here's our report.
Once upon a time, U.S. President Donald Trump made it his personal brand to mock Joe Biden's every wobble, trip, and verbal fumble. Fast forward to June 2025. and the universe seems to have pulled out its karma card. On a breezy Sunday at Maristown Municipal Airport, Trump took an unscheduled stumble while climbing aboard Air Force One. Yes, that Air Force One from Qatar. Just to keep things symmetrical, Secretary of State Marco Rubio also joined the impromptu stare tango, turning what was meant to be a stately departure to Camp David into something closer to slapstick theater. The internet did what it does best, turned it into a meme marathon. Comparisons to Biden's own infamous Air Force One tumble were inevitable. But this time, the joke's on the guy who used to be the one mocking. One user compared Trump to American golfer Arnold Palmer, while another called it failing and falling together. It's a poetic moment for 78-year-old Trump, now exactly the age he once used as ammunition against Biden. From Biden's iconic tripping incidents to a series of gaffes involving everything from forgetting names to mangled speeches, Trump led the charge in portraying Biden as unfit for office. Now, however, Trump's own stair-climbing snafu has added a new kind of symmetry to their rivalry, one that creaks in the knees and forgets the teleprompter. In the past, Trump, too, has had his fair share of stumbles, both physically and verbally. In June 2020, Trump was seen walking cautiously and slowly down a ramp after giving a commencement address at the U.S. Military Academy at West Point. The clip went viral, and critics speculated about his health. Trump later defended himself, saying the ramp was very long and steep and slippery. Though not a stumble, Trump has been often seen using both hands to drink water during speeches. Trump is also known for saying or writing words which don't have a literal meaning.
Big league. Big league. Beat her, big league. Big league. Big league. And I think we're going to make it big league.
Be it panikin, bigly, or kofefi. Now the meanings of these words have only been interpreted, and no one knows what they actually mean. Trump, after becoming the 47th president of the United States, has become the oldest person ever to take office. He snatched the record from none other than Biden himself. During their presidential election campaign debates, both men were pressed on their age. Biden, before withdrawing from the presidential campaign, reminded the world that Trump is only 3 years younger, hardly the spry youth he claims to be. According to a poll in 2024, 67% of Americans believed Biden was too old for another term. Trump fared better, but not by a landslide. 41% thought he's also past his presidential prime. Statistically, the odds of both men surviving another 4-year term were solid. So yes, while Trump dusted himself off and walked up those stairs like nothing happened, the stumble wasn't just on metal steps. It was a stumble into the very narrative he once weaponized, which now seems to have boomeranged.
And now shifting focus to the Middle East, where a new wave of tension is brewing over nuclear secrets and intelligence warfare. Iran's intelligence minister has claimed that Iranian authorities have obtained what he described as a massive treasury of intelligence related to Israel's nuclear program. His statement, which was made during a television interview on Sunday, included claims of thousands of classified documents, some of which allegedly also pertain to the United States, Europe, and other nations.
Complete nuclear documents have been acquired and have been transferred, and other documents related to the U.S., Europe, and other countries, as well as intelligence documents that will lead to the offensive power of the country, are among them.
The Iranian intelligence minister further said that the documents were obtained through infiltration and access to sources, but he did not explain how the intelligence was gathered or moved into Iran.
Unknown soldiers of the absent intelligence officers in the intelligence ministry achieved an intelligence treasury of strategic, operational, and scientific intelligence of the Zionist regime, and it was transferred into the country with God's help and high efforts by the forces.
Now, since Iran claimed acquisition, the Israeli government has yet to issue an official response. It also remains unclear if this alleged intelligence haul is connected to the reported hacking of an Israeli nuclear research center last year. However, the timing of Iran's claims appears strategic. The UN Nuclear Watchdog's Board of Governors is expected to meet this week to discuss unresolved questions regarding Iran's nuclear program. This follows growing international pressure on Iran to clarify its uranium enrichment activities, which is now close to weapons-grade levels.
We want peace and security. We are not looking for nuclear weapons. Those who claim that we are looking for nuclear weapons and mass destruction is you that is scaring Muslims with atomic weapons and mass destruction in the region.
Tehran has so far rejected a recent U.S.-backed proposal intended to revive negotiations. And the country's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, has declared that stopping uranium enrichment completely is off the table, calling it, quote-unquote, 100% against Iran's interest, end quote.
The Americans' first demand is that you should not have a nuclear industry at all. Iran should not have a nuclear industry. You should depend on us for radiopharmaceuticals, medicine, energy, desalination equipment, and dozens of other important fields. You should have no nuclear program. The proposal that the Americans have presented is 100% against our interests.
Meanwhile, Western countries are reportedly preparing a formal proposal to declare Iran non-compliant with its obligations under the UN's nuclear watchdog. If the IAEA proceeds, the matter could be forwarded to the UN Security Council, and that move could trigger the reimposition of UN sanctions under the snapback mechanism outlined in the 2015 nuclear deal. Now, this snapback provision is set to expire in October, increasing the urgency among Western nations to act. Iran currently enriches uranium to 60% purity, dangerously close to the 90% required for weapons-grade material. Now, experts warn that Tehran now has enough enriched uranium to build several nuclear weapons if it chooses to do so.
Iran has escalated by advancing its program significantly. It is enriching uranium at higher levels. It has amassed more centrifuges, while intelligence agencies say that they do not believe Iran has decided yet to weaponize its program. It is certainly very advanced and dangerously close.
So with Iran standing firm and the West racing against time, one can't help but wonder what secrets lie within and what consequences will follow. And we end today in South America, where in Colombia the country is reeling after a shocking assassination attempt on presidential candidate Miguel Uribe, who was shot in the head during a campaign event in Bogota. The attacker, a 15-year-old boy, is in custody while Uribe remains in critical condition following emergency surgery. The incident has sparked fears of a return to Colombia's violent past, drawing comparisons to the dark era of drug-fueled assassinations. With elections less than a year away, tensions are high and questions are swirling about who might be behind the plot. Here's more from Bogota.
A brutal assassination attempt on Colombian Senator Miguel Uribe has sent shockwaves through the nation, raising fears of a return to the country's darkest political chapters. On Saturday, Uribe, 39, was shot during a campaign rally in Bogota's Fontibón district. A viral video posted on X showed he was addressing a small crowd when a 15-year-old gunman fired at him. Witnesses say shots hit Uribe in the head and chest. Bleeding and barely conscious, he was then rushed to a nearby hospital where he continues to remain in critical condition. The attack has left Colombia reeling. Once thought to have moved beyond its era of political bloodshed, the country is now grappling with fresh fears just months ahead of its 2026 presidential election.
Disastrous. I feel as if we've gone back to the Colombia of the 1980s and 90s, when political leaders were being assassinated. Back then it was drug cartels and terrorist groups. Now we don't know who is behind it, but it's clearly deeply disturbing for our country. They are affecting Colombia's democracy, because they are killing our representatives.
Bogotá's mayor, Carlos Fernando Galán, confirmed the senator underwent emergency surgery. These are the critical hours, he told reporters on Sunday.
It is great news what the clinic has already told us, that he overcame the first intervention. These are critical moments and hours for him to survive. We must ask God to preserve Miguel Uribe's life and help him overcome this situation. These hours were critical.
Uribe, a senator with the conservative Democratic Center Party, had announced his presidential run back in October. Though politically aligned with former President Álvaro Uribe, the two are not related. Miguel Uribe is also the grandson of former Colombian President Julio César Tabay and son of journalist Diana Tabay, who was killed during a failed rescue operation in 1991 after being kidnapped by Pablo Escobar's cartel. His wife, Maria Claudia Tarazona, posted a heartfelt message on social media. "Miguel is fighting for his life," she wrote. "Let us all pray for him."
Quiero darles las gracias.
I want to thank all the people who have come together to pray for Miguel's life. I want to thank each and every Colombian who has shown solidarity with me, my children and my family.
Con mis hijos y con mi familia.
Authorities say the shooter was a hired hitman. The boy was arrested at the scene, and a 9mm Glock pistol was recovered. However, investigators believe others were involved and police are offering a reward of $3 billion of Colombian pesos, which is nearly $730,000 for information leading to those behind the attack.
La Policía Nacional. The National Police, by order of the Minister of National Defense, is offering a reward of up to $728,000 for anyone who provides additional or complementary information. The full capacity of the National Police, in coordination with national authorities, is being mobilized, and as I mentioned earlier, we are currently conducting a thorough review.
Now, as Uribe fights for his life, the blame game has already begun. Vicky Davila, a conservative presidential frontrunner, held President Gustavo Petro responsible, saying his rhetoric has fueled division. In fact, even U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio echoed this sentiment. He condemned the shooting as a direct threat to democracy, blaming Petro's violent leftist rhetoric. President Petro, on the other hand, strongly condemned the attack. "Respect life, that is the red line," he wrote on X. Urging protesters, who since the attack have taken to the streets, Petro requested the Colombian youth to maintain peace and choose nonviolence. There should be no resource spared, not a single peso, not a single moment of energy, dedicated exclusively to finding the masterminds with their real names in the place where they live, whether in Colombia or abroad. As the protest grows louder, the Ministry of Defense has mobilized security forces and officials are working to uncover the motives and masterminds. But as Colombia inches closer to its next election, concerns over candidates' safety are growing louder and one haunting question remains unanswered. Who really wanted Senator Turby silenced?
That's our show for today. We certainly thank all of you for tuning in. We look forward to seeing you right back here again tomorrow. Thanks everyone for watching.
Firstpost now available in 9 languages on YouTube. English,
Stands at $36 trillion.
French,